Hello, we're live. Dante Starshine here. I'm here with some dogs in the room. I'm not used to dogs. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for people who are watching this live to tune in. So I'm here in Asheville, North Carolina, and intending to potentially stay here longer. So far it's been so good. I'm not feeling 100% today. I've got a bit of a headache, but as I haven't been creating so many videos, I really do figure that I shouldn't let the things that keep me from being 100% perfect from being online and sharing with y'all. So here I am. And the moon in Aquarius is definitely a powerful one. So I'll get started with that in a moment. Still waiting for some people to join. One viewer here, I think it's Anik. Welcome, Anik. Happy you're here. Welcome, welcome. So, okay, we've got some people. We'll get started. So, the full moon is in Aquarius, and it's just in the beginning of Aquarius, and I'm doing things a little bit differently this time. I usually have the chart wheel for you to look at as well. I'll post that later, but I'm just going to go with notes that I have. So we just entered Leo season after a month of Cancer season, and this is a time of transition with the placement of many of the planets, as we have so many of these oppositions on cusps. So the cusp is the period between two signs, and it is the blending of the energy of those two signs. And when cusps show up, it's like a period, people born under cusps are kind of transitional and blend those energies. And when we have energies on the cusp, it means that we're moving through a collective transition as well. We have a lot of oppositions going on, and the oppositions are about polarity, about seeming opposites that are actually one. And by learning how to balance and integrate those polar ends of the spectrum, then we become whole and can move a lot of energy. So that's what we'll be looking at with the planets today. First of all, we start off with the position of the moon itself in Aquarius. And Aquarius is the symbol of the water bearer. Contrary to a common assumption, Aquarius was not a woman. Aquarius was Ganymede in mythology, which was a young androgynous male that Zeus kidnapped and took to the kingdom of the gods, Mount Olympus, to serve them their elixir of immortality. So the symbolism of Aquarius is very much about being between worlds, kind of like the outsider who is thrust into this other world of the gods to be of service. So it's how we serve our community. And we are working with this cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius, and we have two planets that are on either ends of this moon. And these planets are actually quite intense planets. Traditional astrology views them as malefics. Malefic meaning they can bring up some intense, deeper, or challenging energies. But from an evolutionary perspective, from this perspective of oneness, what challenges us is there to make us stronger and to allow us to grow more potently. Now, we look at the symbolism of one Aquarius, or not the symbolism rather, but the connection that this has to the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction that happened at the end of 2020. If you were paying attention then, this was something that astrologers and all sorts of people were talking about. Fix my hair a bit. And this was an event where it only takes place every 20 years. Saturn and Jupiter align in a sign, and this starts a 20-year cycle of processing that energy. So we are in this Aquarius cycle, which is about the themes of Aquarius, of service, of equality, of justice, of innovation, of evolution, of technology, and community being at the forefront for the next 20 years. And the moon comes to kind of take us back to that time and remind us of what those energies are. So look back to what was happening at that time of your life back in December 2020. What themes were happening? What relationships were up? What were your dreams? What did you intend? Because many of us may have set an intention or made a wish at that time of the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, and this is a time to emotionally recount how that intention we've sowed has come to fruition. So other themes of this full moon on a personal level can be us seeking greater connection and community. Perhaps it is looking at ways that we have felt like an outsider and acknowledging that and validating that for ourselves while stepping into a place where we can hold space for our community and we can bring service, change. And the other part of Aquarius is the individualistic aspect of Aquarius. And the truth is that it is our depth of how much we're in touch with our individual and authentic expression that we can actually know where we fit into community and know what community is for us. So this can also be a time where we are letting go of certain communities or certain ways that we've engaged with community to step in a new way. And I see that happening here where I am. There's a circle about inclusion of marginalized people within the conscious community tomorrow. That is a very interesting thing that feels aptly timed, something that I'm very happy and look forward to going to. So let's talk as well about the aspects to Saturn and Pluto. The closer aspect being Pluto at this time, though it's moving towards Saturn. Pluto is our unconscious deep willpower and drive. It is our power, how we seek it, how we felt stripped of our power, and how we ultimately come to reclaim it. It is our death and rebirth. So when the moon comes to Pluto, it is an emotional death and rebirth, and it is bringing us to an honest look at the ways that we view power. Connected to Saturn, we have emotional restrictions, perhaps, that we may feel closed in, claustrophobic, or unable to fully express our emotional truths and self. So this brings us to do really deep inner emotional work to reclaim our power with those placements. So I'll talk a little bit about this cusp of mystery and imagination that is the Aquarius Capricorn cusp, because we're working with that energy, and this is speaking to like how things take place on a societal level, as Capricorn and Aquarius are the two signs of what we consider society. Capricorn relating to society from the past and traditions, and really the protector of traditions and the protector, like the paternal figure that protects others. Pluto being in that sign for this transition, it's purging what is stuck from those energies, the heavy patriarchal aspect of Capricorn. Aquarius being the aspect of where we innovate community, what our society, looking towards the future, looking towards the whole, looking to make everything equal and just. So we have kind of this shift between the signs where we have gotten to the height of the mountain, Capricorn, we've achieved our goals, or we've gotten to a point that with our goals that we realize we need to innovate, we need to change and transform. So it's this sudden shift from what is outdated and what has been to what could be, and it forces us to think outside of the box. And in order to think outside of the box, we have to be in touch with the energy of mystery. So mystery requires an acknowledgement that something is unknown or untapped into. And the challenge for this is that people really cling to certainty, and certainty can be what holds us back when we need to discover something new. So this is a time to open up to what might be uncertain and look towards what it can be new and integrated to help yourself find your role. As Aquarius really much is about that, the role that we have to serve in larger ways. And also that we enjoy, right? It's the unconditional love, the agape, the love for all that is our benefit for our service. So it isn't like a service where we don't get anything. It's actually a service where we get so much. We get an indescribable amount of love from that Aquarian energy. Anyway, so next point. Well, we might talk about the initial moon stuff later, but looking towards other planets, we have Venus just entering Virgo a couple of days ago, and we have Mars and Venus opposed to Jupiter. So Jupiter is a benefic, as is Venus. They are lucky planets that bring hope and growth and love and all the nice things we like. Though Jupiter, when it makes a challenging aspect like an opposition, can bring excess. As Venus, as it relates to money, this is a time to watch out on excess spending, and it doesn't even necessarily mean that you are choosing to spend a lot. I had an experience yesterday where I was just in this generous spirit and then didn't realize I was being taken advantage of. So it can happen unexpectedly, and it's important to watch those things like your finances and your relationships. There's a lot of growth in those areas, and there's a lot of growth in terms of your work and how you assert your will, the Mars energy, but sometimes there can be tendency to overdo whenever we have a Jupiter aspect going on, or over give or get too much in our hopes about things rather than being with what is real. So that happened to me yesterday too. Interesting. Yeah, it is. Astrology is so real like that. These aspects are really funny. But anyway, back to the Venus in Virgo. So let's talk a little bit about that cusp from Leo to Virgo. This Leo is this really expressive energy that just wants to share love and is all about the heart and creativity and passion, whereas Virgo is more meticulous, focused on the details, focused on organizing things and cleansing, uprooting what is old so that you can reap a good harvest. So it's a cleansing energy. And they call this cusp between Leo and Virgo the cusp of exposure, because Leo, as this big heart energy, can sometimes lack the willingness to go deep and become vulnerable to what might be hidden in there. So coming into Virgo, we have to bring whatever, sometimes our love light can be hiding a lot of things, and that love light is so real, but it can be a way that we escape from things that are trapped. And coming into Virgo, we have to bring those things into our conscious awareness in order for them to move. Hence, this is the cusp of exposure. Hence, maybe this has been a season where I or other people have felt the need to express themselves vulnerably, to allow that organization to take place, to allow that awareness process to happen. So Venus entering Virgo is when Venus goes into her fall. So all planets have detriment, fall, which are the challenging signs for those planets to be in, and they have an exaltation and a domicile, which are happy and joyful, easy places for those planets to be. So it's almost like when a planet's in retrograde, that it isn't necessarily bad, but it does bring an aspect of review or a stagnation to the area that planet's function. Here, Venus relating to connections, relationships, values, money, worth. Our relationships and our finances and other things may require more attentiveness to details. However, the shadow of the Virgo energy, and of course Mars will be entering Virgo, and in a month we'll have Virgo season. So I have been, and this is a whole nother video and topic, but I have a lot of Virgo placements. So the shadows of Virgo have been really coming up for me. And Virgo's shadow is this hypercritical, eyes oriented towards everything that's wrong rather than appreciating what is and using what is to create something new. So Venus in Virgo can have that quality to it where it's very finicky and very nitpicky and gets too focused on the details. So we want to use this energy to create, to cultivate, to perhaps do more self-care and really take a step back and review what do we need to bring into a different alignment or structure or organization in order to move forward with our values. So Venus in Virgo, that is in another 3 weeks from the date of this video, I would think 3 to 4 weeks. I see a note here. I'm backtracking, but I'm gonna forget if I don't go over this note now. Mercury opposed to Pluto. So Mercury being the mind and the mental functions, Pluto being the depths, the unconscious willpower, drive. We are now perhaps having an influence that's causing us to use our mind to dive deeper into those depths. So we'll talk more a little bit about Mercury later. Mercury has some positive aspects going on as well. So Jupiter to re-enter Aquarius. We've got maybe a couple days or a week, sometime soon. Jupiter, who is retrograde, goes back through Aquarius. Jupiter was in Aquarius from December 21st, 2020, or no, earlier in December 15th or something, 2020 to May. It was a fast move, so the themes from the first 5 months of the year will start to come back online as Jupiter moves back. And also, like in the beginning of the video, the Aquarian themes, equality, finding your role in the community, evolution, advancement, the abnormal, might be themes that show up again. And of course, with all of these transits, you get a more clear sense when you know what houses it is in, which you measure from your ascendant. If you don't know how to do that, I do readings. Saturn, Uranus square. So Saturn-Uranus square has been going on for the past, all of 2021, really. And we have one more of those dances. And it's important to note, as Uranus is the ruler of this chart, that this is still in effect and still happening. Uranus being this rebellious force that seeks to liberate and bring awareness to, whereas Saturn wants to restrict, control, preserve. There's this battle between this force of evolution and the force of preservation. And we see that playing out with a lot of regulations on things like health, currency, and so much more. So that's how it plays out on the collective level. And on this personal level, this can feel like we are pushing up against the things that limit us and restrict us and keep us in boxes. For me, I experience this as redefining the way that I engage with community and how I see myself in community and what my needs and my expressions really are. As Aquarius is that community-oriented energy. And also, again, the values, resources, material things, that is the energy of Taurus. Having a change in what we value. So continue to look at that through the year. And again, that's a long-term influence. You'll hear a lot more about that as the year goes on. Saturn North Node trine. So the North Node is a shadow planet that is about our evolution towards something, and it also has this energy of a longing, a hunger, a thirst for something about it. And it is that yearning that is actually on an unconscious emotional level that propels us towards our evolution. So Saturn connecting there means that this can be a time when we are really feeling what drives us emotionally, and there may be restrictions that are causing that to go slower. We're seeing that to get where we want to go or manifest what we want to manifest, it's going to involve a lot of work. But when we have Saturn transits, when you really energetically make the commitment to do the work in that moment, it allows for a lot of seeds to be planted for you to really plant. You're planting the seeds to continue to nourish them and feed them energy and help them grow over time. So Saturn aspects relate to time, and when we see positive aspects like this, it's a time to recognize, oh, it's time to plant my seeds. Whereas a challenging aspect like a square opposition is like, it's time to look at the ways I planted my seeds that maybe didn't work and cut the plants and let things go for now. So the last thing in the notes here is Neptune sextile Pluto, trine Mercury and the Sun. So this is a chart that's really defined by oppositions and squares. There's not many trines or sextiles, and the only sextiles and trines that are made are to Neptune. Again, sextiles and trines, if you look on the pic that I can post later, the blue lines, they relate to sextiles to Venus, trines to Jupiter, and they are what create harmony, flow, and stability for things to grow. Neptune now is the realm of our dreams, our intuition, our spirituality, our connection to what is beyond. So it's a time to get our dreams in alignment with our Pluto transformation, our rebirthing of ourselves, our connection to our power. It's okay to want power. It's okay to seek power. So align your dreams in the ways that, align your dreams with what that right relationship to power looks like and feels like to you. Neptune trine to Mercury, that's bringing us to align our imagination and our dreams with our mind, with the logical thinking mind. So this is a time, this can be a good full moon to journal, to perhaps do a list of manifestation or a list of intentions or a list of goals or standards you're going to pose for yourself. And with Neptune, it really is just about fantasies. So what I'm being shown from my guides and my intuition is to push myself deeper into my fantasies, because before I was like, oh, the fantasies, they keep me from seeing what's real, and if I get it. But the real issue with that is getting attached to the fantasies. It's being so immersed in your fantasies that you're not open to something greater happening. And your fantasies are just there to show you what your own spiritual connection is really about, what allows you to feel your unique, perfect spiritual connection. So I always love to do with this work to ask, what is the very best thing that could ever happen? For me, one of the best things is manifesting the most amazing partner who wants to travel the world, and we take our spiritual practices to the next level and allow this work we're doing to reach even more people. So I like to think of this dream sometimes, and I feel all the feels of what that would be like without necessarily pinpointing that to a specific person or saying this must happen. But what that does is it allows my energy field to attune to that higher frequency of what I'm really aligned with and what really calls to me as a unique being. So with all of this, use your dreams to find your power and to speak that truth out into the world. So that's all the notes that I took. If anybody has any questions about it in general, questions about the full moon, questions about astrology, feel free to post them in the chat. Or if you want questions about your personal chart, you can post maybe an image of the chart, I could see it, or you can just post your ascendant sign, and we can look at what house it is in, what houses it affects. Thank you, Andrew. I'm glad. Thank you for watching as well. I appreciated you being here. I don't try to do too many call outs during the thing because it may be distracting. Welcome, Anna. Thanks for watching. Aquarius ascendant. So it's all about, you know, your sense of self, right? This is like an emotional return to yourself. It's kind of looking at maybe ways of seeing yourself that need an Aquarius innovation. Owning your weirdness. When you have Aquarius placements, it's all about, you know, appreciating your own quirkiness, because Aquarius only becomes the outsider when it accepts the othering, and Aquarius becomes empowered when it's like, here I am, the big weirdo. That was my guidance with this Aquarius Saturn. Like, one astrologer pointed me to years ago, is like, you're only going to step into your power when you fully admit to being totally crazy and own it. And I was like, wow, that's deep. So, okay, next. Cancer rising. Okay, let me do Cancer rising. Okay, a Leo rising would make Aquarius the descendant. So, Cancer rising. Okay, 8th house. So this is for Lisa. 8th house. This is a moon about going into your depths. This is a moon about going into what you can't see, what is hidden. The 8th house is the occult, and what is unknown are dark. So this is the house of power. It's also the house of sexuality and other people's resources. Why? It's because your power and your sex is what gives you access to other people's resources. So, and when we look at our darkness, it's we have to like own and accept all the things that we want and fantasize about, and what drives us. So it is about getting in touch with those deeper, darker drives, and it can be a really good time to do magical ritual or shadow work or release or shedding work, or anything like a tantric, you could say. Leo ascendant. Amanda, so Leo ascendant makes Aquarius your descendant. So this is a moon about relationships, partnerships, or any intimate one-to-one connection. It is about your connection to the other. So look at the themes that every other is teaching you in your life. What are the dynamics that play out in your most intimate relationships? And the 7th house is where we start to see that our relationships with others is just a mirror of our relationships with ourselves. So that's the invitation, really, is to look at if there's anything challenging in your relationships, how are you treating yourself the same way that you are treating others, or that others are treating you? Because that's the golden rule, give and take, how these things bounce back and forth. Anna, Virgo ascendant. Hold on one second. Virgo. Okay, this should be easy because we did Leo, and that puts Virgo there, putting Pisces on the descendant, and that makes Pisces. Oh my god, my brain. Lisa, I think I did that wrong because I'm having a hard time pulling this chart up in my head. Okay, so Virgo ascendant, Pisces descendant, that makes Aquarius 5th house. Right? Yeah, 5th house. So Annabelle, it's about your creative expression. It's about your hobbies. It's about things that bring you joy. It's about things that just bring fun into your life. And it can be about romance too. It can be a time to like reinstill romantic connections or relations, to bring some more vitalization to them, or to maybe plant some seeds around what your own hobbies are. Yeah, Virgo normally relates to the 6th house. Yeah, so how this works with astrology is like the planets move through your own houses. So because Virgo is your ascendant, then from there, you know, every sign is assigned to a house. So Aquarius then is the ruler of your 5th house. Needing hobbies has come up a lot. Yeah, I saw that you're like getting instruments and getting onto all sorts of different like energetic, creative, beautiful things. So happy for that, happy to see that, and I'm sure there's a lot of beautiful growth that comes from that. And yeah, I mean, there will be more of that when Jupiter goes back through Aquarius and is moving and working your 5th house for a while. And Saturn, of course, is working that for the next 2 years. Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody. I'm gonna end this live for now. If you enjoyed this, I do one-to-one readings. You can contact me here, or you can do it on my website, dantestarshine.com. And I'll see you next full moon, or maybe new moon. Maybe before that. I'm not really planning everything I'm doing anymore. I'm just kind of going with the flow, and just for this next month or so of Leo season, that's really what I'm guided to do, is just give myself more time to just go with the flow before I really start anything out there too serious again. Alright, so thanks for watching again. My love to all of you. Big hugs, big blessings. Enjoy this, and may the moon bring you lots of joy and growth in everything you seek. Peace.